This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
So I've got around to watching the IFL TV interview with Eddie Hearn, and I'll put it in the description box for those of you who haven't seen it. If you have, then you'll get fully what it is that I'm talking about in this video. Now, within this interview, Eddie Hearn was talking about Andy Ruiz being the next opponent for Anthony Joshua on June the 1st at Madison Square Garden, which has now been officially confirmed, of course. He spoke about his dad covering for him at the press conference of White versus Rivas, and I know a lot of people jumping up and down about Barry Hearn and some of the comments on there. So I sent Barry Hearn a message, and I got him on the channel yesterday. The video is up, so you can go see the whole response to what people were saying about Barry Hearn, and Barry Hearn clears it all up, which, if you're in the UK, you understood what it was that he was saying. If you're outside the UK, especially in America, where like a race war seems to be pretty ongoing, I understand why people will be jumping up and down. But please go watch that interview with Barry Hearn with myself, and it clears everything up. We don't just talk about that, we talk about boxing as a whole. So if you haven't seen it, go give it a watch, but it'll pop up at the end of this video. Okay, so you can just click it, so watch the rest of this video. Now, one of the main points for my particular video here is that Eddie Hearn was speaking about the offers to Luis Ortiz. And he said that the very first offer was $6 million. There was like a lot of reports floating around that he offered $5 million, and even some of the Wilder fans who've been putting up Luis Ortiz on his pedestal for some bizarre reason were saying that $5 million, he should have took the fight. Well, his first offer was $6 million. Flat refused it. $6 million refused it, which is 12 times more money than what Luis Ortiz got for Deontay Wilder when he fought him, where he only got 500 grand. Eddie Hearn went back with a $7 million offer. So that's 14 times more money, plus for a hell of a lot more belts. And his team bumbled it. They were playing hardball and basically priced themselves out, basically ducking. Now, no matter how you look at it, and of course, I've been covering all the Luis Ortiz situation for the last week or two, so all the videos are up. You don't have to go too far back to watch them and catch up if you're a little bit behind all of it. But Luis Ortiz, listen, man, the buck stops with you, regardless whether it was a member of your team, regardless if it was your manager, your trainer, your promoter. No matter what, the buck lies with you. It is an official duck, because you should have accepted the first one. Okay? But to turn down $7 million, that's more money than what Wilder got to take on Tyson Fury. And certainly more money than what Tyson Fury got to take on Deontay Wilder. $7 million is a lot of money. This is setting up your family's future for life. Maybe your grandchildren and their grandchildren too. And you allowed your team to mess it up. Regardless if it was a promoter, regardless if it was the PBC themselves who were putting a block on this because they want to save him for Wilder, which we know is true. It's still a duck. It's an official duck. So I never ever want to hear from any fan of Wilder or Luis Ortiz. Listen, I'm a big fan of Luis Ortiz, but ultimately I know a duck when I see one. And this was a blatant duck. Whether it's Luis Ortiz himself, doesn't matter. The buck stops with him. He is the boss of his team, is he not? All fighters are the boss of their own team. If they are allowing their promoters, managers, and everyone else to do the talking for them, well, either way, the buck lies with you. You turned down $7 million. $7 million. That is an outrageous amount of money for a guy who got 500 grand to take on Wilder when he was undefeated. But now you've taken a loss to Wilder. Listen, I know there's some controversial points in that fight. I fully get that, with the fact that the referee and the medical team and the judges were all helping out Wilder. We know that. But ultimately, the way the fight went, and officially, you got stopped. You got knocked out by Wilder because you went all amateur and started headhunting when you hurt him, rather than trying to break his ribs, is what you should have been doing. But regardless, you took a loss since then, and somehow you seem to think that going from 500 grand undefeated to taking a loss, to taking on Razvan Kajanu, taking on Travis Kaufman and Daniel Martz is more value than $7 million? $7 million. And I know people say, yeah, but you know what, he only had 5-6 weeks, it wasn't enough time. Well, he only had 5 weeks to have a fight with Wilder. So what are you talking about? Even Luis Ortiz and his trainer said, 5 weeks is fine, no problem. It's not a problem. So you can't use that. It's an official duck. No matter how you look at it, ladies and gentlemen, Luis Ortiz ducked Anthony Joshua. Why? Because he's a PBC fighter. That's my honest opinion. I don't know what's going on over there. It seems that, I don't know if it's Al Heyman, or if it's Stephen Smith, or is it Leonard Ellaby, or... I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, is it Steven Espinoza from Showtime? Is it somebody from Fox? Is it... I have no idea what it is, but these people don't want their fighters fighting Anthony Joshua or Dillian White. They just don't want it. Yes, there's a slight exception with Andy Ruiz because he's fighting Anthony Joshua, but he's only just joined the PBC. He's only had one fight on the PBC, and Andy Ruiz is a man of his own destiny. Andy Ruiz is a man who can think for himself and make his own decisions. He knows whatever it is that he's getting for Anthony Joshua is wealth for his own family, plus opportunity to become world heavyweight champion. Bear in mind, Wilder's only got one poxy little belt that he shouldn't even have. Because Tyson Fury did beat him, but he needed the judges to screw Tyson Fury, so he's a paper champion right now. So he's got one belt. Joshua, who's got 3 of the main 4 belts, plus the RBO. And if you beat Joshua, you're getting generational money in the next fight. And Luis Ortiz turned this down. Blame his team. Blame Jay Jimenez. Blame his promotion team. Blame Al Heyman. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, the buck lays with Luis Ortiz. You turned down $7 million. Never ever again do I want to hear how Anthony Joshua is afraid of Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz is a boogeyman. He has ducked fights from Anthony Joshua now, as you can see, and he's ducked fights with Dillian White before as well, because he wanted to fight on the Wilder Fury undercard rather than be a headline pay-per-view against Dillian White here at the O2 in London. You see, sometimes people buy into the hype, but most logical fans like me and you, we kind of know, we can see it, okay? We can see that these people just don't want to fight Joshua. They just don't. Luis Ortiz, Deontay Wilder are just two fraud fighters. Is exactly what they are. These guys price themselves out. They just don't want to fight with Joshua, yet they act like they do. And when the opportunity comes along, nah, you're right. Nah, you're right. I'm going to go rematch Deontay Wilder for another $500,000. And we're going to put it on pay-per-view. For a fight that we've already seen before, you're going to put it on pay-per-view and charge the public $75. Okay, good one. Especially now with Luis Ortiz having a reputation as being a ducker now. Even Wilder's own fans are starting to say it. But they need to be saying it about their own man. You can moan about Luis Ortiz turning down $7 million, but you're not going to moan about Deontay Wilder turning down over $100 million. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so Eddie Hearn exposes Team Ortiz and Luis Ortiz for turning down $7 million. $7 million. Imagine how many Cuban cigars you can buy with that, Luis. Yeah, and you just turned it down. Anyway, that's the news. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, and of course subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.